Welcome to the Ketovangelist Kitchen. I'm Brian.
And I'm Carrie.
And this podcast is dedicated to making things simple and easy for you in the kitchen. Carrie Brown is a classically trained, world-class chef who has a passion for creating ketogenic recipes that taste better than anything you've ever experienced. But more than that, she loves teaching people how to cook the right way.
And each week on this podcast, Brian and I discuss all the ways you can create awesome keto food that is guaranteed to make you a rock star in the kitchen.
If you'd like to learn more about Ketovangelist Kitchen, you can go to KetoVangelistKitchen.com and sign up for the newsletter.
In exchange for your email address, you'll get brand new recipes delivered to your inbox, ready for you to whip up in the kitchen and enjoy with your friends and family.
So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and learn. You're about to enter the Ketovangelist Kitchen. Hey, who am I? I'm Brian. And who am I talking to again?
Carrie Brown.
It is the one, the only Carrie Brown.
No. I'm not the only. There's so many Carrie Browns, so many.
Oh, see, I only know one.
You may well decide one day that that's a really good thing.
Yes, someday.
This is one of the Carrie Browns.
This is a Carrie Brown, not the
a Carrie Brown. Another Carrie Brown.
Right, and other Carrie Brown. This is the Ketovangelist Kitchen, and
the one and only Ketovangelist Kitchen.
The one and hopefully only Ketovangelist Kitchen. If there was another one, that would be weird. I think that would be weird. People steal my stuff constantly, so I'm assuming they wouldn't steal that. You think that maybe someone would?
Well, it just wouldn't be the same without you and me. So,
well, it wouldn't be the same without you. It would be the same without me, because that's basically, people tune in to listen to you. I'm just here because I actually have the recorder. So that's my job. My job is
a very fine job you do
right.
with said recorder, sir.
I know how to push a button.
Push buttons.
Howdy. That's right. I think you can attest of everyone. You can attest that I know how to push buttons. Just so people know, I have taken Carrie from the heights of adoration to the depths of I can't even look at you right now. All in the matter of short periods of time. So
repeatedly,
yes, and it's
consistently. It's like on an almost daily basis.
It's almost fun in some regards, but anyway, that's a whole separate. So that's like Ketovangelist.
That's a whole podcast.
That's like therapy session. Ketovangelist Kitchen. Yeah, if you guys knew some of the conversations that Carrie and I had, mostly me apologizing for things, you'd be you might not be surprised. It's entirely possible that you would expect it. So I got to be honest. So Paulette, when she was at your house when we were doing the cruise,
yes, and
so. Paulette, and I never know how to pronounce her last name. I think it's Chaussee, but I don't know for sure. So Paulette, I'm sorry if I butcher your last name. Blame it on Carrie. But she got it like a little glimpse of inside baseball, the way that between me and Mary and me and Katrina and me and Robin and me and Carrie and me and my wife Sherry. So, but she stuck around. So clearly it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like too distressful or distressing.
She did, and she's still talking to me at least.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay. That's a good point. She doesn't actually talk to me anymore. So maybe it wasn't so great. That's a good point. Okay. So enough of this chit chat. What, we got some administrative stuff to do first, right? Are we doing that?
We do.
Okay. So we've got a review to read. So we have
several.
We have several reviews to read.
We do.
So
because
Kimberly,
the lovely, the ever awesome Kimberly
Hull,
lives down
Kimberly
in
Hull,
California. She sent me, bless her heart, she sent me a document with a list of all the ones that I haven't done yet because I kept getting lost. And so she sent me this fantastic document so that I know exactly which ones I've done and exactly which ones I haven't. And so we're going to start at the furthest to go,
right,
and get back on track.
So Kimberly Hull went through.
You are an angel. We love you. That was just the sweetest and most helpful thing ever.
She went through and listened to every single episode and wrote down all of the reviews that Carrie has read online, and then put it in a spreadsheet sort of thing, and then sent them all to Carrie. So Carrie now knows what she has and hasn't reviewed. So I have to applaud Kimberly because she had to sit through all of the episodes of me talking.
Just that she thought to do it and just went and did it and sent it to me. That was like the best thing I had in my inbox for a week was this document to get me back on track. Right, so that's good hugely news. Appreciated.
All right, so let's get to it then. What are we reading? What's the first one we're reading?
All right, so I'm reading one from Gatorneurs.
I don't know what that means.
Gatornurs. And it sounds like that should be a boy, but I don't know.
We're going to say yes. We're going to say yes, it is.
Because I think it's got something to do with sports, but I might be making that up. Anyway, so on January 19th, which was just after we started the full-time Ketovangelist podcast, Kitchen podcast, and Gatorneurs said, entitled their review, Love Them All, gave us a 5-star rating and said, I've just started keto and I can only read so much. I love listening to both Carrie and Brian. They are straightforward and only want to help others. I find Brian's way of ketoing very easy to follow and understand. Keep up the good work, guys.
Well, thank you. That's I find my way of keto very easy to follow too, so that we have that in common.
And then we have a review from Wyobmore, Wyobmore, also on January 19th. January 19th was a good day. So Wyobmore wrote us a review entitled Lots of Good Information and gave us 5 stars and said, whether you are an experienced cook or not, keto can be a completely different world in the kitchen. There are so many bad keto recipes out there, and it's nice to have someone who can separate the legitimate from the ridiculous.
I agree. So
yes.
Thank you for that.
There are.
And
then one more, which was posted by Angie R1010, and I'm assuming Angie's a girl. And Angie wrote her review on January 31st, and she said, love it, and gave us 5 stars. Then she goes on to say, I love all the Ketovangelist podcasts, ! This one, the Ketovangelist Kitchen, is informative and also practical. I'll be cooking cold pork chops in a cold pan soon. The motivation segment at the end of the podcast is really awesome, and I love listening on a Monday on my way to work. It gives me a great start to a work week. Thank you, Brian and Carrie. P.S. I just tried yogurt with heavy cream. OM freaking G. That tastes amazing. I added just a little salt and swerve.
All right. There you go. Thank you for that.
Go, Angie.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think that what Angie is saying is exactly what we were going for. We were hoping to make the Monday a good way to start the week by having the Motivation Monday thing. So
yes,
it's working.
Woohoo! Yay for working.
Yes, yay for things that go according to plan. Because they don't always.
No, they don't.
I'm looking at you.
Wow, we've got so many reviews I haven't read. I'm just scrolling and going, I got so many to catch up on. Okay.
Go ahead. Are we doing another one?
That's it.
That's it?
Well, you and I talked about you doing one.
Okay, so here's the review that I'm going to read this. It's from Keto in Wisconsin. At least that's what I think it means. It's Keto in WI. And WI is short for Wisconsin if it's a state thing. And either that or it means keto and we, and I don't know really what that means, but it could be. So it's by Flaked Model is the person who left the review. It goes as follows. Carrie is amazing and able to stay on track with fantastic information. However, Brian is all over the place and seriously needs something to help him with his ADD. You have no idea. He probably has a lot of great information. Well, you're wrong there. But he gets so far off track so often, it makes the episodes drag on and on and on. And that was kind of the point. I'm trying to make everything as miserable as possible. So well done in noticing that. I'm grateful for the fast forward option once he starts talking. Me too. In short, Brian is annoying, but Carrie is amazing. I couldn't agree more. And I think if we did a poll, that's basically what you would find. So, Flaked Model, thank you for the review. Hopefully we will continue to make you miserable for many years to come as we continue to put the podcast out. So that's the review that I wanted to do. Oh, and 3 stars, 3 out of 5 stars. So that's what we got. Okay. No, it's good. I mean, I got nothing else I think that Flaked Model is correct. Everyone likes you and I'm just here because I push buttons. That's my job.
I know there's people walking around who think the exact opposite, who think that you're amazing and I'm annoying. And I know people that have far worse terms for me than annoying. So
I don't think that's true. I don't.
No.
Listen to me.
Everybody's different, and we'll never make everybody happy.
Listen to me. No, give me names. I want to know who, because I will set them straight because they are wrong. That is just the way it is. I want names. I want phone numbers. That's all there is to it. Okay, so there's the reviews that we're going to read. If you want to hear your review read in a sultry British accent, that's right. You got to leave a review because otherwise, and maybe Carrie will read it too. Who knows? But if you want to hear your review read, got to leave a review. So go to iTunes. If you're logged in, you can leave a review. Or if you've got a podcast app on your phone or your tablet, you can leave a review. And we'll read it on the air.
Woo-hoo!
And then, then you can rejoice by the fact that you've been read. All right. What are we talking about today?
We're going to make shortbread.
Shortbread. Okay, so I have some questions just off the top of my head then. Flaked Model is going to love this. So shortbread, now, immediately, as opposed to long bread, what's the difference? Okay, that's what I thought. Now, second question, as opposed to sweet bread, what's the difference?
Huge difference there.
Okay.
Yeah, sweetbreads are entirely delicious, as is shortbread. Entirely delicious, but a lot of people, in fact, most people have probably never eaten sweetbreads, and I would guess a good majority of those will never eat sweetbreads because they are they belong in the offal family.
Now, it's funny that it's called offal because
that's OFFAL, right. Not AWFUL.
Right. So lots of people would think it's the latter, but it's the former. So offal is a term used for organ meats.
Bits and bobs.
Right. Yeah, yes. That you just kind of toss into stuff. So sweetbreads typically are going to be stuff like throat, gullet, pancreas, sometimes the heart, stomach, intestinal tracts, those kinds of things is typically what sweetbreads are. Now, I have to wonder if they gave it the name sweetbreads to trick people. Like, no, seriously, try it. It's good. And then they laughed hysterically when it was neither sweet nor bread. Any idea?
Right.
Any idea why it's called there?
I don't. If I did know at one point, I have forgotten. Okay. But they are delicious.
So my suspicion, okay, this is
They are entirely delicious, and if I eat out and they're on the menu, you guarantee it's like foie gras. If foie gras is on the menu, I'm having that. Don't matter what else is on the menu, I'm having foie gras.
You are
if sweetbreads are on the menu, I'm eating sweetbreads.
You're so French. I don't know if you know this or not, but like you are so French, and I don't know if that's allowed to say or if that's cause for some sort of international incident. You know, I mean, I know how the Brits get when you call them French. You know. And
well, I mean, not to be political, but I have no idea what I am anymore at the moment. I mean, it's just all, so are we in, are we out, are we European, are we not? I don't even know.
Well, good, because neither does anyone else. But if I remember correctly, and I could be completely wrong about this, but if I remember correctly, because I actually looked this up a couple of years ago, that the reason that these cuts of meat were called sweetbreads is because it was an old English term before that.
Oh, I have no doubt the Brits came up with it.
Right. Yeah. Oh no. Yes. Exactly. Hey,
because we love eating bits and bobs of animals that nobody else does.
What is it? The Brits' contribution to the culinary world was boiled meat. Is that what the saying goes?
Well, I don't know where that saying comes from, because we're responsible for all sorts of things, including biscuits.
Right. Biscuits being what's the American term for biscuits? Is that
cookies?
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
We invented biscuits because we decided it would be rather fun to get on a big old boat built of wood and sail off into the ocean unknown, and we developed biscuits so that all the sailors would have something to eat, because there's no fresh food because you're sailing off for months, and so we invented biscuits to have food that they could take with them that would store well and that wouldn't go bad. So that's how the biscuit came to be.
And then also, just as a side note, then you destroyed the Spanish Armada, right? But
my history, I'm just not a history buff.
Okay, then we'll just skip right past that. But speaking of biscuits, this is a good segue. So what you're saying is shortbread, as opposed to long bread, which we're not sure what that is not the same as sweetbreads. So what exactly is shortbread?
Well, I was all excited to talk about sweetbreads. You've got me all excited about bits and pieces of
let's focus. Hey, I'm the one that's got ADD, not you. Remember?
But I'm looking at a picture of a dish, a cooked dish made of sweetbreads now, and I'm just gazing at it lovingly, and I just want to eat it.
I would totally try it. And the thing is, when I see meals that consist of sweetbreads, I want them to be doused in like a really, really thick white cheese for some reason. Like it seems like that would go really, really well together.
No.
Why?
No, they're a delicacy.
Oh, see, yeah, everything. Well, yes, but so is
they don't need to be smothered in anything.
No, see, coating everything in cheese is a delicacy.
They have a very delicate taste. They wouldn't stand. They'd be just swamped in cheese.
You know who you're talking to, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not that subtle. I'm pretty much like I would pour like habanero salsa and guacamole on it too, just because I wanted to try it. Have I told you my favorite restaurant that I ever have eaten in when I was a kid, when I lived in Germany?
No.
Okay,
but it was in Germany, so I'm excited to hear about it.
Okay, so my memory is a little bit foggy on some of the details, but from what I recall, it was a Yugoslavian restaurant. Now, I could be wrong about that, but that's what I remember it being. That's what I remember my father telling me that. Now, this restaurant was a kebab type restaurant, right? But it wasn't like little wooden sticks with like vegetables and small cuts of meat on it. It was a gigantic like open pit fire with swords that had like half a cow on the thing, and this is when I knew I loved meat. Right. This is like when I finally figured out, okay, this is why I love this so much. But they would take these kebabs and they would just coat them in like a half-inch thick layer of this really thick white cheese and serve it to you in like 6 or 7 skewers at a time, and each skewer is like a foot long, and it was just the most amazing meal I ever had as a kid. And this is in Germany, for crying out loud, and there's lots of great food in Germany. But I totally want to go back there. I totally want to rekindle that, is all I'm saying.
We should go on tour. We should do a European tour.
Yeah. And
podcast and go out and eat European keto food and podcasts from everywhere.
You know what? So I recently procured a mobile podcast system, so I can podcast on the go. Now I haven't tested it out yet, but I in the event that I have to be not at Ketovangelist headquarters and I still need a podcast, I think I'm prepared for that. So it's possible that the trip around Europe could work.
So next time you're in Seattle, we can podcast live and direct from my kitchen.
No, I think I'm going to be busy that day. Okay, maybe. Yes. I don't know.
There will be ice cream.
Oh, okay, then yes. Wait, what kind? I'm a snob now. I'm a snob about ice cream now. So I have to be like, what kind?
I will make you whatever your little heart desires. Only I've already done that, so I know all I have to do is just keep making the same thing over and over, and you'll be happy forever.
Right. So Carrie has been like really inventive on the ice cream thing. So she says, "What kind of flavors do you want?" And I said, "I don't want anything that's normal." And she's like, she really ran with that for a lot of stuff, and she's like rattling off all these things that she's making, and I keep telling her like, I had the hazelnut. I like the hazelnut. That's not hazelnut. Therefore, as great as it is,
don't want to.
I don't care. Like, it doesn't interest me at all. Like, I found what I like, and that's what like, this is my personality. Like, okay, I like that. So I'm going to eat that until I'm sick and tired of it, which is going to take a long time. So all these things that she's describing to me, and most of me wants.
He was completely unimpressed.
That's not the case. Most of me wants to try them, but just out of the fact that I'm fascinated by the creativity involved in putting these flavor profiles together. And so let me give you a glimpse into how Carrie's brain works.
Yeah, please.
Carrie's like, yes, please. I've been trying to find out for years. So one of my executive coaches, her name is Katrina Harris, and she does not consume any sort of sweeteners at all. None, not a single bit at all. So when we were all at Carrie's house and she was doling out the ice cream, Katrina was politely just kind of sitting off to the side, not enjoying any of the ice cream. Not because of anything that Carrie was doing, just because Katrina doesn't eat anything that's sweet. Mostly because Katrina knows herself and she knows it's going to, spin her up if she does. So she avoids it, which is smart. So Carrie notices this and files it away and says nothing. And then a couple of weeks later, or a couple of days later, when it was a period of time goes by, and she's like, I'm working on another recipe and I've got to figure this out. And I want it to be an unsweetened ice cream, but I want it to be something that's delicious. And I'm like, why would you make an unsweetened ice cream? And I don't say that like that's gross. I say that as in like, okay, now I'm interested. Like, cause that's unique. I'm curious about that. She's like, well, because Katrina, and I'm sure it's not just Katrina, but other people don't eat sugar of any kind or sweetener of any kind. And so now she's like on this quest to try to make an unsweetened ice cream that is, as silky smooth as the other ice creams that she makes. So this is how Carrie's brain works. She's like challenge accepted all the time about all this stuff. Sometimes to her detriment, because she does run herself ragged a little bit. I don't know if you know that.
And then there's Brian. I just want hazelnut.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm pretty much a one-trick pony, and that pony's hazelnut. So there you go.
So I'm done. I'm done with you.
I can't tell you how many times she's texted me that she's done with me about any given number of subjects. All right. But I will say this: she has. I feel kind of bad, but I have like won the war of attrition. Like she's actually like finally kind of given up a little bit. Like she's all right, fine. Like she was so gung ho, but she was gonna make me like love certain foods. She's just like, okay, fine. That's just
we have made some progress.
Some.
It's slow and it's hard work, but we have made some progress.
It's glacial. That's how slow it is.
You've tried new cheeses that you've got excited about.
Oh, yeah, but I'm always willing to try a cheese. I'm always willing to.
And you've even got excited about the artisan salamis that I got when you came.
Okay, yes, but again, I'm always willing to try salami. Now, my problem with the salami was you bought me 2 cases, and then shipped them to my house, and I didn't know anything about it. And I went to go check the mail one day, and all of a sudden, I've got 10 pounds of salami, and you're all playing
and
coy.
It was awesome.
I'm not saying it wasn't. It was fantastic. But you're all like, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean you want salami? Oh, yeah. Well, someone obviously thinks that you enjoy salami. Ho, ho, ho. I'm Carrie Brown, and I'm so coy. Ho, ho, ho. That is a literal transcript of the conversation. That's exactly how it went down.
I'm going to find it now and post a picture of it on Facebook.
No. You don't want to do that. Yeah, you have to scroll through months of text to do that. Okay. What were we talking about?
And I converted you to sausage stuffing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, no, you converted me to making a recipe more than once. Let me just say that.
So, baby steps. We'll get there.
Oh, yeah, but you got to understand, my threshold's pretty low. So that's pretty good for me. In fact... So I've been on an ice cream kick. Anyone who's followed the social media stuff knows that, it's big ice cream thing. And Carrie is constantly yelling at me to follow her recipes because I'll do it once. And then I start tweaking, and then I start adjusting things. And sometimes it works and sometimes it's terrible. And I report
when it comes to ice cream, tweaking does not work, as you have found out.
That's not true. I've made some tweaks that I quite enjoy. But her response is constantly like, follow the freaking recipe, you moron. So that's basically what I know I'm going to get back from her whenever I tell her whether or not something went well, or whatever. So, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, shortbread.
So, one of the things that makes me saddest about the Facebook group is
the Ketovangelist Kitchen Facebook group.
The Ketovangelist Kitchen Facebook group is the angst that people have with making baked goods with keto ingredients or keto-fying baked goods, and it makes me sad. And there is a rant podcast coming soon. But I thought that today I would just walk you through a recipe for lemon shortbread cookies, which are fully keto, and they're already posted up on the Ketovangelist Kitchen website, so you can go make them. But I have had people who don't know what I do argue with me when I've said, when I've given them to them, and they're like, and I'm like, they're sugar free, and they're like, no, they're not. And I'm like, and they're also wheat free. They're like, no, they're not. I'm like, no, there's no flour in there. Yes, there has to be. I'm like, no, there really isn't any flour in there. I've had people stand and argue with me about the fact that these shortbread cookies must have flour and sugar in them, which of course they don't. So, there's a lot of people out in keto land who believe that it's impossible to make a good keto baked good. And that is absolutely not true. It is perfectly possible to make fabulous keto baked goods that you can't distinguish, or most people would not distinguish from one made with traditional ingredients. But it's also true that the majority of recipes, keto recipes out there, are I either don't end up being a good substitution, they're nothing like the original baked good, the recipes don't work. There's a lot of fails in the keto baked goods world, and it makes people sad, and of course so that makes me sad. So I thought we'd walk through this recipe today, and then maybe that would help you feel good that there are keto recipes out there that work, that you can have shortbread and other things, and also to explain a bit about why you can't be blasé about keto baked good recipes, because that's when you'll start getting into trouble, and when things go wrong, and when you end up tossing a bunch of expensive ingredients away and so on and so forth.
Right. So, as we've said before multiple times, right, part of your mission is to make it effective and efficient for time and for money, right? So all of the failed experiments, they end up costing because you got to throw things out.
Right. And I don't want people to waste money on recipes that don't work. I don't want people to get discouraged by recipes that don't work. I want people to have a really successful, delicious keto foods to eat. So it does get me a bit wound up when I see stuff on Facebook that indicates that, a significant number of people are wasting money, wasting time, wasting ingredients, and also not having a delicious keto experience.
Right. The DKE, the delicious keto experience.
There we go.
Hashtag delicious keto experience. We should totally do that. I'm gonna go buy the domain name, delicious keto experience.
You better do it now because anyway. Oh no, we've got until Monday.
Dibs on the band name, delicious keto experience. That's for sure. That's for sure. All right. So where do you want to begin then? First things first is get a whole bunch of flour, right? No.
Do you ever listen to anything I say?
I'm sorry. What was that? You were saying? What's that?
Pipe down.
Bring it down, boy. Okay. Then where do we start? Where do we start, Carrie? This is fantastic.
So, if you are not driving right now, which I know a lot of you are, so some of you may have to wait for the audience participation portion of this podcast. But if you are not driving and you're not particularly doing anything right now, you could go to KetoVangelistKitchen.com and type in shortbread into the search, or go to the recipes drop down and baked goods and then find they're called lemon shortbread cookies.
Okay.
And we're going to walk through the recipe.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you what you can and can't do and why you have to. And this will be a good opportunity for me to demonstrate why I constantly yell at Brian to follow the recipe.
And also we may get a glimpse into why I constantly don't. That would be fun. Okay. So, then where do you want to start? So great point. If you are driving, and I am not, and neither is Carrie right now, because that would be weird. You're going to have to wait. So either put it on pause or listen to it again at some other point in time. There's no other options, right? Like you can't, if you're driving and you have a laptop in front of you,
stop.
Yeah. Put the laptop away is all I'm saying. Right.
So you can listen, but you just can't look.
Yeah. So you're going to be cooking with your mind now.
Yes. There we go.
Okay. So where do we start then?
So we actually only need a few things. We need 7 ounces or 200 grams of almond flour. And I'm going to do this one differently. So at every point, I'm going to stop and explain why, what, where. I'm not just going to read like the other recipes we've done. I'm not just going to say how this is how you do it. I'm going to tell you why, because with baked goods, and I've said this over and over, and I will probably go to my grave saying this, with baked goods, you have to be precise if you want a good result. And you have to follow the weights and the measurements and the instructions, because with keto baked goods, you just cannot willy-nilly sub out this for that. Well, you can, but don't expect a good result. Anticipate that whatever you're doing will end up in the trash. So,
right.
And that's not just me being weird. That's just, and I know that there's hundreds of thousands of people out there that can testify that that's the truth, because most people have had that experience. Heck, even I've had that experience. So I've had, I don't remember which recipe it was, but one recipe I did for baked goods ended up at like 9.0. So, before it was at a place where it mimicked whatever it was I was trying to recreate. I think it was the almond. I think I have a triple threat almond cookie, and I think we got to 9.0 before it was good enough to be tossed at the world. So
instead of the trash.
The other 8 went in the trash.
They were trash worthy, and that's it.
They were trash worthy.
Gotcha.
I'm sure Brian probably would have eaten them all and not noticed a difference, but that's why I'm here.
Right. Everyone should thank their lucky stars that you're the one doing all of the cooking work.
So you want 7 ounces or 200 grams for our metric friends of almond flour. This is a good point to explain almond flour. It's also called in England for sure blanched ground almonds. So ground almonds are almond flour. Almonds that are ground into flour. So that's what almond flour is. If they call it blanched, and this is the important difference. In America, there's almond flour and there's almond meal. Almond meal still has the brown skin on the almond when they grind them. Right. So the skin is in, and you can tell that it's meal and not flour because it's speckly. It's not pure creamy white. There's brown specks. If it's got brown specks in it, you've got almond meal. What you want for this is almond flour. And the difference is that almond meal is those skins make a difference. So if you use almond meal, it absorbs more moisture. You're going to have, and if you don't make up for that, you're going to have a drier product because those skins do make a difference. So you cannot substitute almond flour for almond meal and expect the same result because they are different.
Okay.
So you should specify, if the recipe specifies almond flour, use almond flour, or also known as blanched. Blanched means that the skins have been taken off. So you're looking for almond flour, you're looking for blanched ground almonds, and you're looking for a product that has no brown speckly bits in it. That's almond flour.
And it should say on the package, no brown speckly bits. Right.
It will not say that on the package. And I'm surprised at this because in America, one of the big brands for floury things is Bob's Red Mill. And Bob's Red Mill calls his almond flour meal. I'm like, okay, now you've just confused the whole of America.
Right.
Stop it. So if you're faced with a situation where a packet says almond flour meal or almond meal flour, you can tell what it is. If it's got brown speckly bits, the skin's still there, that's meal. If it's no speckly bits and it's pure white, creamy color, then that's flour.
Okay. Good information right there is what that is.
Because a lot of people get confused, or they don't know the difference, or the companies confuse us because they call things different names. that's the skinny almond flour.
All right.
So you want 7 ounces of 200 grams of almond flour, and you're going to put that in a food processor with 1 ounce or 30 grams of chia seeds. I have found, now you can do this recipe, you can put the whole chia seeds in at this point and then pop it all, but I have found it works much better to grind your chia seeds. You can buy chia seeds finely ground, but they're not easy to find and they are more expensive.
Right.
So,
and they're not hard to grind. They're not hard to grind on your own.
And they're not hard to grind on your own. So what I typically do is I buy chia seeds and I grind them in a coffee grinder till they're finely ground. And that's how I do it, because as I say, the ones that you can buy already ground are expensive and hard to find. With chia seeds, you can get black chia seeds or you can get white chia seeds. It does not make any difference nutritionally. They're all good. They're just different colors. White chia seeds look prettier. Black chia seeds will don't look as pretty because they're black. So you'll have little black specks in your finished product if you use black ones, whereas you won't if you have white. But taste-wise, function-wise, nutritionally, they're identical.
So if you don't mind the speckledy look, then it's
right.
Fine.
So it's purely aesthetic is my point. So use either, purely aesthetic. Obviously in these, you can see in the picture that I used white because there's no black speckly bits in my cookies. So, but you can use either, because I know that's a question I've seen people ask too. So if you don't mind the dark speckles, or if you actually want them for aesthetically, then use black.
Okay.
So you've finely ground your chia seeds. You're going to add those to the almond flour in your bowl. Then you're going to add 2.5 ounces or 70 grams of xylitol or erythritol. It can be granular. You don't have to pre-powder it. You're also going to add a teaspoon of xanthan gum. Now, in this instance, the xanthan gum is there to give strength. So because there's no gluten in almond flour, in wheat flour, there's this protein called gluten, which is what gives flour its structure, its strength. We don't have that in almonds. So xanthan gum is used to try to some extent to replace some of that strength that gluten gives to wheat flour. You can leave it out. You will have a better result. You'll have a better texture. The flavor will be completely the same either way, but they will be crumblier, and the texture just won't be the same without the xanthan gum. But they will be fine without it.
Do you want crumblier or do you not want crumblier?
You don't want that crumbly. I'm talking about like hard to pick up crumbly.
Oh, okay. Like your fingers don't work because they're so crumbly, or because they fall apart?
Right. So they will be fall apart crumbly without the xanthan gum. However, they'll taste fine, and if you don't have it and you don't care that much, then fine. It will work. The texture just won't be as good, and they will be crumblier because the xanthan gum is there for strength. You cannot substitute for guar gum because guar gum does not have that property of providing strength. Guar gum is an emulsifier, and that's not what we want in this instance. We want the strengthening properties of xanthan gum. So no, you can't sub guar.
So make sure the almond flour is the right kind of almond flour. Make sure that your chia seeds are ground nice and fine, and make sure that you're using the right kind of thickener.
Yes.
Okay.
In this case, it's xanthan gum, which you can leave out if you don't have any. I wouldn't recommend it. but it will still actually work.
So if you don't have any, it's not a necessity, but it is something that will give you a better texture and mouthfeel, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then what's the next piece?
So we've got your almond flour, we've got the ground chia seeds, we've got your xylitol or erythritol granular, we've got your xanthan gum in a food processor, and then we're going to add the zest of 2 lemons.
Now, will a blender work as well as a food processor, or do you really need an actual dedicated food processor?
It really won't work in a blender.
Okay.
You can do this by hand. I don't know if you've seen them, Brian, but you can get these. It has a handle, and then it's like a horseshoe shape, and it's got 5 like almost blades on it, and you just kind of smash it through the flour and butter. I don't know if you've seen those.
That's a pastry thing. It's I forget what it's called.
A pastry blender.
Pastry blender. Okay.
So you can do this by hand. If you want, you can even do it with a fork if you're really up against it. It'll take you a while, and you might not be super happy at the end of it, but you can. But a food process, because we don't want to blend everything together.
Okay. You don't want to blend everything together, meaning what?
We don't want, so to blend, you don't want a kind of a smoothie or a puree. You don't kind of want that blended. You want everything to come together, but not in the same way.
All right, so you want it mixed. You don't necessarily want it blended.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So you've got all those things in your food processor, and you're just going to pulse it a couple of times to mix everything well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to get 3 ounces or 85 grams of cold butter. And it needs to be cold.
Has to be cold.
Because if you use melted butter, you are not going to get the short. The reason shortbread is called shortbread is because it's very different to typical bread, which is kind of stretchy. You know, you can kind of pull a slice of bread and it stays a piece of bread. With a shortbread, the reason it's called that is because you can snap it. It's short. That's what that texture is called. There's no long stringy bits holding it all together. It snaps.
They should have called it.
That's why it's called shortbread.
They should have called it crack bread or snap bread then, instead of shortbread. I'm just saying. They should have consulted me. Okay. Moving on. So,
the reason you want cold butter is because this is shortbread, and the cold butter it'll give you a very different texture. If you put melted butter in this, or you put soft butter in this, which would give you more of a blended result, you won't get the same shortness of texture that you will if you use cold butter. So there's my point is, baking is exact. It's a science. And if it says cold butter, you need to use cold butter if you want shortbread at the end of it.
Okay, so everyone should know that she's looking at me while she's saying this. She's basically saying this to me in the guise of trying to educate you people. Just so we're clear. All right, go on.
That's true. That's true. I will probably go to my grave trying to persuade Brian to follow a damn recipe. I will speak at his funeral.
Right.
He didn't follow the recipe.
That's a heck of a recipe. All right, what's next?
So you need to use cold butter. It's not just there because I felt like typing it or whatever. It actually has a function, and it will change the texture and the final result of your shortbread. So,
all right,
cold butter. So you're going to cut the butter. It's cold. You just got it out of the fridge. You're going to roughly cut the butter into small pieces.
Dibs on the band name, cut the butter. Go on.
That is a good bad name, actually. So you're going to cut the butter into small pieces. You're going to toss them in the chute at the top of your food processor, and you're going to pulse it until it resembles fine breadcrumbs. You're not going to push on and walk away and end up with this blended thing. You're going to pulse it until it resembles fine breadcrumbs, which I want to say it's about 15 times. So it's not a lot. It happens really quickly. Once you've got fine breadcrumbs, you're going to pulse another couple more times. A couple more times. That's 2, maybe 3. Pulse, 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 and it will start to ball together.
Right.
As soon as it starts to ball together, do not touch the machine. Pokey buttons. No poking buttons, Brian, anymore.
I'm not sure about that.
Stop poking the buttons.
It's important for people to realize that if they're not catching on, every single time the blade hits the butter, that's friction, and that starts to melt the butter, right? So you don't want to just let it whirl around, because you're going to basically end up with a slurry type thing, as opposed to the granular sort of breadcrumby looking thing that we're talking about.
Right.
Would you say it's more of an Italian or more of a panko consistency?
It's like panko.
Okay. So there you go.
So just pulse, and I want to say from memory, it's about 15 pulses to get it to fine breadcrumbs. Obviously, it depends how small your pieces of butter are when you toss them in. Once you've got fine breadcrumbs, just pulse it a couple more times, and it'll start to ball together. At that point, turn it out onto a work surface or a cutting board or whatever you roll things out on. Some people roll out on plastic film so that they don't have a mess and it's easier to pick up. I have a mat that I roll things out on. So I don't, because I have wood. I have butcher block counters. So I use a mat, but whatever, turn it out onto your surface and then knead it lightly to form a soft dough.
Okay.
And then, and again, little things that I forget people might not know. You don't want to have really hot hands when you're doing this, because again, as Brian's already pointed out, if your hands are really hot, if the ambient temperature in the house is really hot, you're going to start melting the dough because of the butter in it. So you want to knead it lightly, you want to knead it quickly, and then stop touching it. Okay?
Stop
you just
touching.
Hands off, or keep your hands cold, or put your hands in cold water before you start touching it, so that the butter's not going to melt.
Right. Okay.
And then once you've got your soft dough, you want to quickly roll it into a sausage shape, which is about 1.5 inches in diameter. This piece is completely up to you. I mean, it depends. I made these little 2-inch across cookies. If you want them a different shape, you can roll this out and cut it with cutters. So this piece is kind of optional. I rolled it into a sausage, and then I cut it into slices. So I rolled it up to about 1.5 inches in diameter, and then sliced through it to make slices. But you can use any cookie cutting method you like. Roll it and use shapes. I would caution against doing really pointy shapes with shortbread, because it's shortbread, so it's designed to be crumbly. So if you have like a star shape, that would probably you'd probably get a lot of broken stars. So,
okay, when you say roll it, do you mean using a rolling pin, right? You're talking about flattening it out.
Yep.
Can I offer a suggestion for that? Because I think one thing that people have a hard time with, especially if they're new to this sort of thing, is how much pressure to apply, and you get uneven rolling, right? Because it's not always easy. You have to kind of learn the feel of it. So so just a suggestion for folks: if you have, or if you can go to any hardware store and get thin strips of wood, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, whatever you want, and you basically lay them out like a train track, put the dough in the middle of it, and make sure that they're only wide enough to where the roller will still make contact with the wood on the very ends of the roller itself. And
so the bars should be spaced closer than the length of the rolling pin.
You're right. So you want to so basically the rolling pin is only going as far as those bars, right? So that way you get a nice even consistency on whatever it is you're rolling out. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, and you can, I think Wilton and places like that, you can buy, guides, which in my little world, I use them because in England we make, wedding and celebration cakes, which are covered in a layer of marzipan, almond paste, and then iced over that. And so the marzipan had to be completely exactly even thickness. So we had these bars, as Brian described, and you just roll it. So then you have your cookies are going to be exactly the same thickness. That's what that does.
Okay. And then you can cut them into whatever shapes you want. Just not sharp edges, not pointy shapes, because they'll put your eye out.
No, not pointy shapes because shortbread is crumbly. Oh. So you're probably going to have a lot of pointless stars if you choose something.
Pointless.
So I would go with rounds or squares or something that doesn't have narrow pointy edges. Okay. However, so I rolled mine into a sausage about 1.5 inches in diameter. Now, this is important. If you're doing this method where you've got a sausage shape or a log shape and you're going to slice it, use a serrated knife. A serrated knife doesn't have a straight edge. It has a wavy edge. So use a serrated knife. Why do you use a serrated knife to slice the dough into slices?
I was just about to ask that.
You use a serrated knife and you saw, because if you have a blade with a straight edge, when you go to cut, it will push all your dough out of shape.
Okay.
So you want a serrated edge blade and you want to saw. Don't just push down on the top, but saw through the dough, and then your dough, you won't misshapen all of your cookies. So serrated edge knife and saw through the dough. Don't push through from the top.
Okay.
And then you want to get your baking sheet, which you have sprayed with coconut oil or avocado oil, and you want to pick up your slices. If you've rolled it and cut them using cutters, you can use a palette knife, which is that wide, flat knife with no blade. You can use those. Are very good for picking up cookies so that you're not handling them, and they'll keep their shape much better. So pick them up with palette knife. Or if you've just cut them from your dough log, then you can just place them on the baking sheet. They don't spread much. Because they're shortbread and there's not a lot of liquid in them. So you can put them 1 inch apart and they'll be absolutely fine. You want to bake them in the center of the oven at 300 degrees F.
Good catch.
Until they are golden brown, which, and all ovens vary. So it's going to be about 20 to 23 minutes. So again, because it's baking, I put the timer on for 18 minutes and then start hovering so that you take them out. And of course, once you've made them once in your oven, then you know how long they're going to take. Then you don't have to do that. But the first time you do them, I'd say check them at 18 minutes and then hover until they're done. Then you want to remove them from the oven. Don't forget your oven mitt because we don't want you to end up in the hospital.
Good
so
call.
Remove them from the oven and leave them to cool on the baking sheet and step away from the cookies. Don't touch them.
Don't even look at them.
Don't even look at them. You get the tray out, you put it on the side, you walk away. They are these cookies, and I don't want you to, and I'm telling you this because I don't want you to freak out, because if you touch it when they just come out of the oven hot, you'll go, these are just soggy. What is this? They're soft. I can poke them. They just fall apart. They're just like, this is terrible. That's how they are when they're hot. So when you pull them out of the oven, leave them on the sheet, just walk away. Once they've cooled and the pan is cool, you can carefully move the cookies to a cooling rack and leave until they're completely cold. Because once they've cooled down where they're cool enough to touch, they will have set or firmed up enough where you can move them without them breaking. So just use a spatula or a palette knife is also a good option, just to lift them carefully off the tray and put them on the cooling rack. And then leave them on the cooling rack until they're completely cold, because until they're cold, they will fall apart. They'll be soft and will fall apart. So if you can possibly manage it, these are best if they're left overnight before you eat them.
So what is the purpose of a cooling rack, and why is it different than just leaving them in the pan to cool down that way?
Well, you could, but they'll cool. I mean, patience is not a virtue that Brian Williamson possesses. So I would imagine, I mean, I'm making this up here, but I'm thinking that you want to get them cool as soon as possible.
Okay. So
you only leave them on the tray until they're handleable enough to not break in the process of moving them from the tray to the cooling rack. Okay. But they will cool faster on the cooling rack.
Right. So because a cooling rack is elevated and it's basically mesh, so it allows for airflow. So the air
can circulate, so they'll cool quicker. Okay. But you do have to leave them on the tray until they're not too fragile to break when you move them.
So when I was in, I guess, middle school, I had to take a home ec class, and because everyone did, not because I was particularly interested in home ec. And we had someone who they would always put, I forget his name. He was, but he would always put saran wrap. Saran wrap on the cooling rack, just as for some reason, just to prove that it was not going to cool faster on the cooling rack, because there's no circulation now. Now that he basically just put saran wrap on the wire part of it so that there was no more airflow. He just wanted to prove a point to the teacher. That's just the kind of people I went to school with.
Did he pass that class?
Probably.
Because it's also, the saran wrap's not hot like the tray.
Oh, that's true. But it was also really gross because it would stay soggy because the moisture wouldn't evaporate on the bottom.
Right. Yeah. So no, don't do that. Plus heated plastic, not good. No, don't recommend that.
It's all right.
So, and I will repeat, once they are completely cold,
yep,
and make sure completely cold before you pack them in an airtight container. Because, of course, if they're the littlest bit warm when you put them in the airtight container, they're going to sweat.
Yeah, that's going to be bad.
And the moisture's going to build up, and then they're going to be soggy. You don't want that. So leave them until they're completely cold, and then pack them in an airtight container. If you can possibly manage to leave them overnight, the texture is better the next day. They're firmer, they're more shortbready. You can eat them once they're cold, but they are better if they're left
another point
overnight.
Is, so we're saying cooling down faster is better. That doesn't mean put it in the fridge. Right?
No.
Right, so that's another thing.
Because the fridge is moist, so you don't want to do that.
Right, okay. Just making sure. Trying to...
And you can, I mean, if you... And so I think on my post I said, why it's best to bake these right before you go to bed. And that's so that you don't eat them.
There you go.
So make them last thing, and then they won't be, screaming at you. If you make them in the morning and then you have to leave them, or they're better if you leave them, then you're going to be awake. Whereas if you make them just before you go to bed, then you can pull them out the oven. You can even leave them on the tray because you don't care how fast they cool. So you can just pull them out the oven before you go to bed. And then when you wake up in the morning, you will magically have slept through the part that requires patience.
Also, if you wake up and your shortbread is screaming at you, you probably didn't follow the recipe, is all I'm saying. Because generally speaking...
You also might want to call for help.
Right. That's all I'm saying. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. So what's the next step? Eat, or is there something else in between?
No, that's it. Eat.
So consume and enjoy, right?
Yes.
All right. So that seems like it's pretty easy to do. Now, what does one do with shortbread? Does one just eat them as regular biscuits, or does
Cookies?
someone do other things with shortbread?
Well, of course, because I'm me, I do other things with them. So these are actually the cookies. In my ice cream book, there is a lemon meringue pie ice cream. And I used this recipe to make the mix-ins, the pie crust.
So you have a shortbread.
I made the cookies, and then I broke them up into smaller pieces and churned them mixed them into the ice cream once it was churned before I froze it.
Gotcha.
So I used these as the pie part of the lemon meringue pie ice cream.
Okay.
You can also use this exact same recipe to make a pie crust. Okay. I've used it, in fact, on my blog, and I'll have to move it over. I made these lemon mascarpone tarts, which used this cookie recipe, this shortbread cookie recipe, and then I got individual tart molds, and I lined them with the cookie recipe, baked them, and then filled them with mascarpone cheese. I filled them with lemon curd, and then piped mascarpone cheese on top. So they were these really pretty little lemon cheese tarts. So I used this as a pie crust, and then I used it as the mix in for the lemon meringue pie ice cream. So it's definitely able to be used for more than just cookies.
Right. So there's it's not just one and done. You can find other uses for them.
Yes. And also you can get creative. I mean, if lemon's not your thing, you could use orange zest, you could use cardamom, you could put some cocoa nibs in there, take the lemon out and put some cocoa nibs in there. You could do other spices. You could make add pie spice instead of the lemon and make some spicy shortbread. But they are short. They're more like shortbread texture. That's why I called them shortbread, so people would understand what the kind of texture was going to be like. But you could, if you don't want lemon, you can switch that out with your favorite spice, or as I say, cocoa nibs to give you a keto chocolate chip version. Lots of things you could do with that basic recipe. But if you fiddle with anything other than the flavorings, you're not going to get the result you want, and you're probably going to end up tossing stuff in the trash. And we don't want that for you. We want you to be sitting eating lovely cookies.
Right. We want you lobbing it at the world, not into the trash can. So
please follow the recipe. Exactly. Get a scale. We did a whole podcast on why you need a food scale, and weigh everything, because it's the absolute only way you'll get consistent results. Follow the instructions. I hope that the extra information that I've given you here explains why we do those things, that they're not just random things I make up. There is actually a method to your all madness. Of my madness.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Sorry?
I said, Jinx, you owe me a Coke. I guess you didn't have that game as you were growing up in Jolly Ol'.
Clearly. I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't have Jinx? When two people say the same thing at the same time, the first person to call Jinx wins. And that Jinx means either you owe me a Coke or you don't get to talk until I free you up. It depends on the region, how the game is played.
That sounds like a really dumb game.
You sound like a dumb game. I just lashed out just now. I'm sorry. Okay.
So, and because, in case you're wondering how this would work in ice cream, because doesn't it get frozen and won't they be hard? The answer is no. And do they say crisp? The answer is yes, because lots of fat. Almonds have fat, chia seeds high in fat, butter high in fat. So they don't freeze hard like ice. So you won't break your teeth if you use these as a mix-in for ice cream.
Okay. All right. So it's got multiple uses. It's pretty simple to do. It only requires 9 kitchen utensils and a whole bunch of exotic ingredients that are going to make
It does not.
Oh.
Stop it.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I was misunderstanding what you were saying then. So maybe I'm wrong about that?
Yes.
All right. Then
it's very simple.
Okay.
If you have a keto kitchen, you will have all of these things in your kitchen, in your pantry already. They're just basic keto ingredients. And it requires a food processor and a pair of hands and a serrated knife.
And a serrated knife. Don't forget the serrated knife.
And saw. Don't push.
Okay, hold on. So there's different kinds of serrated knives. Let me explain what I mean by this. If you grab a butter knife is technically a serrated knife, correct? Because it has an edge to it. It has a broken edge to it. Even though it has
a wavy edge,
right?
But
so,
the waves are so tiny,
right?
You almost have to run your finger on it and get cut before you can realize that it's even serrated.
And I'm not saying that I've ever done that, ever, but it is possible to do that. So when we're talking about a serrated knife, we're not talking, I mean, it's a more obvious serration, like a bread knife is kind of the knife that you want. And
you look at the camera, Brian.
I am, and I'm
okay.
I'm threatened right now. This is an unsafe work environment because Carrie is now waving a knife at me. Right. So you want a bread knife with very obvious, very long sorts of serrations. Now, when I say long, I mean I don't mean long in terms of depth of serration. I mean long in terms of width of serration. Right. So you don't want to have it, digging in nice and deep. You just want it to be able to get some you want it to have a bite without squishing the actual stuff you're cutting is what I'm saying.
So this knife that I'm waving at Brian is
in a very threatening manner, I might add.
It's as long as my forearm and hand. So it's I don't know, 12, including the handle, it's like 15 inches long.
Okay. Right. And that'll get you through one set of feet. I mean, shortbread is really what it'll do. All right. So that's shortbread, eh? So any other points of consideration that you need to tell everyone or anyone?
Follow the recipe.
Okay. Follow the recipe. That's clear.
Weigh stuff.
Which would be akin to following the recipe.
And leave the cookies till they're cold.
Okay. Big deal, right? Leave them till they're cold. All right. So I guess you know what time it is now then.
Oh, yes.
It's Motivation Monday.
I seriously am going to get you to record that.
Every week I record it. Every week.
No, I mean like on a little.
That'll be your text tone for me.
That'll be that.
Yeah, you'll get sick of it fast. All right. So what's our Motivation Monday for this Monday?
It is, and this is very relevant for me this week. On particularly rough days when I'm sure I can't possibly endure, I like to remind myself that my track record for getting through bad days so far is 100%, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really expand upon that, right? That's pretty self-explanatory, and it's pretty easy to understand. I mean, there's the saying that this too will pass, right? Even, you're going to get through it. It's a matter of how you get through it is really all. So I'm sure
you have got through. I think what this says to me is It's just a reminder. You have got through everything that life has thrown at you thus far. You've got through it 100%. You have. So, and a lot of those times I thought in the moment, I can't do this anymore. I've got through everything, and so have all of you.
Right.
If you're listening to this podcast, you have got through everything that life, the universe, and crazy people have ever thrown at you. You've got through it 100%. And that to me is highly motivational. It's just like, you know what? I have got through everything, and I can get through this.
Right. And this is one of those examples of, you can draw upon the fact that you did get through it. Now, you may not know how, you may not really be comfortable with it, but things can get bad, sure. But you can find a way, not to downplay anyone's, any given particular situation, but
no, not at all.
Right.
Not at all. And I think, you're listening to the Ketovangelist Kitchen. So we're, our bent, if you like, is always, and I always like to relate these things to what we're doing in our little keto lives. For me, this talks to, if the cravings are driving you completely mad, you can get through them.
Right.
If you're fasting and you're just determined to get to, whatever it is, 36 hours, and that last hour, just you feel like you can't endure, you can do that thing. This is what that says to me. So I think about this particularly with keto is, the struggles we face with cravings and especially when you start, if you're getting the keto flu and you feel like complete crap, and this is a reminder, right. You have got through everything bad ever so far. 100% you can get through this.
All right, so I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think then we need to go too much into it. Just take that as you go out this week and realize that, you can endure, you can come out the other side and be happy. Right. All right. That was Motivation Monday. The ending isn't quite as powerful as the beginning. So there we go. All right, so
the beginning's awesome.
Isn't it, though? I know, right?
Yes.
That guy really is ruggedly handsome. So what is the big takeaway, then, for everyone here? Aside from, and I'm quoting now, follow the recipe.
Go make shortbread.
All right, go make shortbread.
Go make shortbread that your non-keto people will never believe is not real shortbread.
That's a long hashtag right there is what that is. All right. Well, Carrie, thank you for sharing your shortbread recipe. And, if you do make it, we want pictures in the Ketovangelist Kitchen Facebook group.
We do.
So post pictures, and, a delicious keto experience. That's the hashtag, which, by the way, I did buy the domain name. So delicious keto experience. That's what you gotta hashtag it with that. So there you go. And I guess that'll do it for this week. And I guess I'll talk to you next week then?
Yes, you will.
All right. All right. We'll talk to you later then.
Bye.
And that'll do it for another trip to the Ketovangelist Kitchen. Listen, shortbread, eh? Don't let it fool you. You can make it as long as you want. I know what Carrie's saying, but you can make it as long as you'd like. Let's be honest. Try it. Post it. Let us know what you think about it. Pretty sure you're going to like it. All right, you can connect with us on the social medias. Ketovangelist Kitchen on Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups/Ketovangelist Kitchen. Ketovan Kitchen on Twitter. Ketovangelist Kitchen on Instagram. And there's also a Pinterest thing, too. You can find us there. So there you go. Until next week, y'all, keep being awesome. powered by ketones.